morning. Good morning. Thank you. It's an important day. Thanks. Welcome to our Worldwide Developers Conference 2005. Today's an important day. We've got some great stuff for you today. But I want to start off with just some stats on the conference. There's over 3,800 attendees today here. This may be the largest developers conference in Apple's history. I'm not sure, but I know it's the largest in the last decade. So welcome. There are developers here from over 45 countries, including China and India. And we've got some great stuff for you. Over 110 lab sessions. And of those, 39 are hands-on, where you're sitting there at machines during the labs. 95 presentation sessions, and over 500 Apple engineers are going to be on site this week to help you. So we have our Apple Design Awards, and this year we've got more entries than ever before, over 400 entries, and it just shows the vibrancy of the developer community out there. It's fantastic. But the number that blows my mind, for Apple Developer Connection members, we have now crossed 500,000 members. Isn't that amazing? So the developer community at Apple is thriving. I'd like to give you a quick update on retail next. Apple Retail, we've got 109 stores now around the world. We are seeing over 1 million visitors per week. 1 million visitors per week. And over the last 12 months, the retail stores and the online store have sold over $500 million worth of your products. So they're doing really well for us. We've opened a lot of stores like this in malls. We've also opened some what are called flagship stores. This one being in London. I don't know if you've been to the London store, but it's hopping. It's a phenomenal store. I was there about 2 weeks ago on a Tuesday afternoon. There were over 250 customers in the store, Tuesday afternoon at 2 o'clock. So it was amazing. Now, our retail group is constantly trying to find the best real estate to locate stores. And they made a video to show at a real estate convention, and I saw it and I nabbed it because I wanted to show it to you. So could we run that video now? So that's a little update on Apple Retail. We think it's the best buying experience in the world for personal computers. Now I'd like to give you an update on the iPod and our music efforts. You know, the iPod is really entered popular culture in America. You know that when you're lucky enough to get on the cover of the New Yorker. So we were thrilled with that. And that's reflected in iPod sales. This is the cumulative iPods sold, and at the end of last quarter, at the end of March, we'd sold about 16 million iPods. And that's also reflected in the iPod's market share. Of all types of MP3 players, including flash and hard drive, everything, 76% market share. So we're thrilled with that. Now, as you know, iTunes goes with the iPod. And we just recently crossed 430 million songs sold and downloaded in iTunes. We're thrilled with this, and that is again reflected in iTunes market share. We've gotten a lot of competition over the last 9 months, and what's happened? Our market share has gone up. It's now 82% in the month of May. Now, we recently announced something new for iTunes and iPod, and it's called podcasting. As you know, the podcasting phenomenon is exploding right now, and podcasting, of course, is a concatenation of iPod and broadcasting. And what is podcasting? You know, it's been described a lot of different ways. One way has been TiVo for radio. You can download radio shows and listen to them on your computer or put them on your iPod anytime you want. So it's just like television programs on TiVo, and that's true. Another way it's been described is Wayne's World for radio, which means that anyone without much capital investment can make a podcast, put it on a server, and get a worldwide audience for their radio show. And that's true too. We see it as the hottest thing going in radio, hotter than anything else in radio. And as you know, what podcasting is that you can not only download radio shows and listen to them, you can subscribe to them. So that every time there's a new episode, it automatically gets downloaded to your computer. You can listen to it there, or it automatically gets synced to your iPod the next time you dock your iPod. So it's very, very exciting. And there are over 8,000 podcasts now, and this is growing really, really fast. So that's pretty exciting. Now, it's not just amateurs doing these things, though. These 8,000 are not all amateurs, but the pros have realized that this is huge. And here's just a list of some of the companies doing podcasts now. All the major radio broadcasters, the network broadcasters, major magazines, major newspapers, even major companies like Disney and Procter & Gamble and Ford and General Motors. So it's pretty exciting. And so what we're doing is we're going to make this even easier, because you're not going to have to go download other applications and get all sorts of stuff together to make this happen. We're going to build it right in to iTunes and iPod, so you can subscribe to any podcast, and we're going to make it really easy. And so right into iTunes, very simple. But one of the most important things is, how do you find these podcasts? You want people typing URLs into iTunes? Well, they could do that, but we're also going to build right into the iTunes Music Store an iPod or a podcast directory, so that we're going to list thousands of podcasts, and you'll be able to click on them, download them for free, and subscribe to them right in iTunes. So I'd just like to give you a quick peek of what this is going to look like. Let me bring up iTunes here. And I'm going to go to the podcast homepage. And this is the podcast directory. And we're going to list, again, thousands of podcasts. Let's just go ahead and listen to one. We can go to one here. This is Adam Curry. He's one of the inventors of podcasting. And you could listen to his...
Source code, episode 187.
So you could listen to an episode here, but it's much more interesting to subscribe to the podcast. And we've now subscribed to Adam Curry's podcast. It's flipped us up to this podcast thing right in the source list. It's downloaded the most recent one. If I want to download another one, I can just push a button and go download one of the older episodes. And I can listen to an episode.
Daily source code, episode 187.
Something remarkable is happening here. Radio is springing free of the regulated gatekeepers who've managed what you can hear since radio was invented. It's jumping into the hands of anyone at all with something or nothing to say.
With $16 million $100 worth of airplane strapped to my ass. For the next generation radio content in my...
Okay. So, let me give you another one. Adam's great. This is KCRW. This is a show called The Treatment. They're a public radio station in LA. So let me go ahead and subscribe to The Treatment. And again, here's another one. I can close this one if I want to. And let's go listen to The Treatment.
This podcast of The Treatment is a production of KCRW Santa Monica at 89.9 FM and webcasting at kcrw.com.
From KCRW in Santa Monica, this is The Treatment.
So you get the idea. These are really cool. Some are amateur and some are pro. One more I want to just highlight. We're going to do one ourselves because we have New Music Tuesdays when we put new music on the iTunes Music Store. So we decided to do a podcast. This is just a test. But you can subscribe to that and, you know, get... chapters.
Toby Keith is like the god of... Mariah Carey keeps reinventing herself.
So, very, very simple. And we think it's going to basically take podcasting mainstream to where anyone can do it, and really easy to find these podcasts, really easy to listen to them. So we're very excited about this. I think it's going to be one more way in which iPod and the iTunes digital music community are really at the forefront of this stuff, bringing the innovation into the marketplace. Now, I'd like to give you a little update on Mac. Mac is doing really well right now. And let me start off with just some figures. If we look at growth rates, these are year-over-year unit growth rates for the last 5 quarters, ending in March. And if we look at the PC market, the growth has slowed down a little bit from just under 20% 5 quarters ago to just over 10% today. This is, again, year-over-year growth rates in terms of unit ship. But let's look and see how the Mac's done in the same period. Look at this. 9 months ago, the Mac took off in terms of growth rates, and it grew over 40%. So last quarter, the Mac grew at over 3 times the rate of the rest of the industry, and we're pretty excited about that. And the most important thing, of course, happening in the Mac is Mac OS X Tiger. I hope all of you are using it. We shipped it recently. I'm sure you're all using Spotlight, Dashboard. We've shipped H.264-based QuickTime 7. And as a matter of fact, today, we're previewing QuickTime 7 on Windows, so you'll be able to download that later on today, so Windows users as well can get the best digital video in the world. You know, we've shipped over 1 billion copies of QuickTime during its lifetime, over 1 billion copies. And now QuickTime 7 with H.264 is available on Macs and a preview release today on Windows. You've seen the new Mail with instant searching in it. We've seen Safari with instant RSS access built right into it. And you've seen iChat AV, where up to 4 people can do video conferencing right on the desktop with great quality, again, because of H.264. So Tiger, we think, is the best release we've ever shipped. And you know what? The critics have agreed. You know, the quotes, I'm sure you've seen some of them. This is from Computer World. Want to see what the future of personal computing looks like? Don't wait for Microsoft to show you. Go out and get yourself a copy of Apple's OS X Tiger. It's that good. Here's the New York Times. Spotlight isn't just a super fast find command. It's an enhancement that's so deep, convenient, and powerful, it threatens to reduce the 20-year-old system of nested folders to irrelevance. Hear, hear. CBSNews.com. I remember writing an article about Lotus 123 back when the product was released during the 80s. It may have been nearly 2 decades since I wrote that column, but it took Spotlight less than 2 seconds to find it. Business Week. Tiger bolsters OS X's edge as the best personal computer operating system around. and a similar one from the Detroit Free Press. It's the most elegant, useful, and powerful operating system I've ever used in 3 decades of computer ownership. It runs circles around Windows. And finally, Walt Mossberg, it leaves Windows XP in the dust. So, and I know you guys are all taking advantage of the latest, greatest Tiger features in your apps, and it's very exciting. And I'm really pleased to report to you that this week we will deliver copies sold through retail, delivered through maintenance, and shipped on the Mac since we cut over the 2 millionth copy of Mac OS X Tiger. This is the fastest. Remember, it's been about 6 weeks since we started shipping it, and we are thrilled with this. This is the most successful OS release ever. And it's not just us that's been busy with Tiger. Take a look at the third-party stuff that's been released. Over 400 Spotlight plugins, over 400 dashboard widgets, and over 550 Automator actions have already been posted. And in particular, I want to focus in on these dashboard widgets. Dashboard is one of the most exciting features of Tiger, and people have done some beautiful things, and I'd like to just show you a few of them now. So let me go ahead into Dashboard. You all know Dashboard. And let me get a few out here. Let me go back here. Here's a great one for Amazon. This one doesn't just take you to Amazon when you search for something, but I can search for let's say Tiger, and it right in place goes and searches Amazon and just gives me all the stuff I might want, right? Or iPod, boom. And there's all the stuff on Amazon I might want for an iPod. Let me show you another one that's really cool. Business Week is just releasing this, I think, today, but this gives me up-to-date Business Week stories right here, and so I can look and take a look at Apple if I want to. And there's all the stories about Apple today, and I can flip it around in the back and look at top news or technology or whatever I want to do. It's pretty cool. So there we go. Let's go on to CNN has got a similar thing. It's not as nice a looking as Business Week's, but does the job. And there's all the latest CNN stories. Here's a cool one if you haven't seen it, called Countdown Calendar. So you bring up this countdown calendar and you go in the back and you fill in the dates that you want to count down to. So I'm going to say 12/31/2006. I'm going to put in Longhorn. And that's the days until Longhorn. Just counts them down. Here's a good package tracker for UPS, DHL, or FedEx. And I was tracking a package earlier, so I can just go track a package here. And there's my FedEx package. Here's a fun one, Rabbit Radio. This finds your local NPR station. Isn't that great? And you can just listen to it. And you can even listen to it when Dashboard's off. It's great.
But he gave in if Hamilton would recognize.
Nothing as great as NPR. Let me go find another one here. Let's see. Here's a fun one for sports enthusiasts, which is baseball scores, just sitting there scrolling. TV Tracker, I'm sure you've seen. Goes and finds all the TV shows that you might want. This is a favorite of mine, Wikipedia. For those of you that don't know, this is an open source encyclopedia where everybody contributes to it. It has now become one of the most robust and certainly accurate encyclopedias in the world because you've got experts from all over the world contributing to it. And we just look up Tiger here, and you can get the lowdown on all kinds of tigers. So that's Wikipedia, which is great. And lastly, I just wanted to show you Yahoo just released an updated one on their traffic, and I can put San Francisco, California here, and there is the traffic updates for San Francisco. So these are just a few of the over 400 dashboard widgets that are available now on Tiger that you can go get. And we just released a new site on the OS X tab of Apple.com, which makes it much easier to find these things. So go check them out. They're pretty amazing. So OS X Tiger. Now, what percent does this represent of all Mac OS users? These 2 million copies that we've delivered so far. They represent already 16% of the entire Mac OS X user base. Panther is about half, about a quarter is Jaguar, and about 10% are the laggards on early versions of 10. And after 6 weeks, this is phenomenal. Now, where do we expect to be when we meet again here next year? This time next year, we expect the Tiger is going to be half of the OS X user base. So we're really thrilled about that. And if we take a look at what we've done over the last 5 years, we've released 5 major versions of OS X over the last 5 years. In that time frame, of course, Microsoft released XP. And looking forward, what do we see? Well, the next release, I'm very pleased to announce that the next release of OS X is going to be called Leopard. And we're not going to be focusing on it at this conference today, but we certainly will in the future. And we intend to release Leopard at the end of 2006 or early 2007, right around the time when Microsoft is expected to release Longhorn. So that's what the future looks like, and we look forward to telling you about Leopard. So that's what's up for Mac OS X Tiger. Now, let's go to a big topic. Transitions. Let's talk about transitions. The Mac in its history has had 2 major transitions so far, right? The first one, 68K to PowerPC. And that transition happened about 10 years ago in the mid-90s. I wasn't here then, but the team then did a great job from everything I hear. And the PowerPC set Apple up for the next decade. It was a good move. The second major transition, though, has been even bigger. And that's the transition from OS 9 to OS X that we just finished a few years ago, in the early part of this decade. This was a brain transplant. And even though these operating systems vary in name only by 1, they are worlds apart in their technology. OS X is the most advanced operating system on the planet, and it has set Apple up for the next 20 years. Today, it's time to begin a third transition. We want to constantly be making the best computers for you and the rest of our users. And so it's time for a third transition, and yes, it's true. We are going to begin the transition from the PowerPC to Intel processors, and we are going to begin it for you now and for our customers next year. Now, why are we going to do this? Right? Didn't we just get through going from OS 9 to OS X? Isn't the business great right now? Why do we want another transition? Because we want to be making the best computers for our customer looking forward. Now, I stood up here 2 years ago in front of you, and I promised you this. And we haven't been able to deliver that to you yet. I think a lot of you would like a G5 in your PowerBook, and we haven't been able to deliver that to you yet. But these aren't even the most important reasons. The most important reasons are that as we look ahead, though we have great products right now, and we've got some great PowerPC products still yet to come, as we look ahead, we can envision some amazing products we want to build for you. And we don't know how to build them with the future PowerPC roadmap. And that's why we're going to do this. When we look at Intel, they've got great performance, yes. But they've got something else that's very important to us. Just as important as performance is power consumption. And the way we look at it is performance per watt. For 1 watt of power, how much performance do you get? And when we look at the future roadmaps projected out mid-2006 and beyond, what we see is the PowerPC gives us sort of 15 units of performance per watt. But the Intel roadmap in the future gives us 70. And so this tells us what we have to do. Now, this is not going to be a transition that happens overnight. It's going to happen over a period of a few years. Again, we've got great products right now, And we've got some great PowerPC products in the pipeline yet to be introduced. But starting next year, we will begin introducing Macs with Intel processors in them, and over time, this transition will occur. So when we meet here again, this time next year, our plan is to be shipping Macs with Intel processors by then. And when we meet here again 2 years from now, our plan is that the transition will be mostly complete. And we think it will be complete by the end of 2007. So this is a 2-year transition. So, first transition, 68K to PowerPC. Second transition, OS 9 to OS 10. We're going to begin a third transition from the PowerPC to Intel processors. There are 2 major challenges in this transition. The first one is making Mac OS X sing on Intel processors. Right? Now, I have something to tell you today. Mac OS X has been leading a secret double life for the past 5 years. There have been rumors to this effect. But this is Apple's campus in Cupertino. Let's zoom in on it. In that building right there, we've had teams doing the just-in-case scenario. And our rules have been that our designs for OS X must be processor independent, and that every project must be built for both the PowerPC and Intel processors. And so today, for the first time, I can confirm the rumors that every release of Mac OS X has been compiled for both PowerPC and Intel. This has been going on for the last 5 years. Just in case. So Mac OS X is cross-platform by design, right from the very beginning. So, Mac OS X is singing on Intel processors, and I'd just like to show you right now. As a matter of fact, this system I've been using here, let's go have a look. Let's go have a look here. All right, there you go. So, we've been running on an Intel system all morning, and let me just go, do a few simple things. Baseball, boom. All the normal stuff just works. Let's go back to these dashboard widgets that we just brought out. There they are. And, we can even, let's see here, go find a calendar event here. Very simple. Let me go show you Mail. There's Mail right here. Safari. Here's the new widget stuff. Way to find some widgets. Boom. On Apple.com. Let me show you iPhoto. Loading in 4,000 photos. Here we are. And let me go ahead and play you a movie. Here's, let me get rid of this. Here's a movie trailer here.
From Doug Lyman, director of The Bourne Identity. Brad Pitt.
Come on, sweetheart. Come to daddy.
Angelina Jolie.
Who's your daddy now?
All right, enough of that. So, this is Mac OS X running on Intel processors. We are very far along on this, but we're not done, which is why we're going to put it in your hands real soon so that you can help us finish it. Now, the second major challenge is your apps. right? So let's take a look at how you're going to make Intel versions of your apps. You can separate code into kind of 4 different buckets: widgets, scripts, Java, Cocoa apps, which of course are made with Xcode, Carbon apps, which can be made with Xcode, and Carbon apps, which can be made with MetroWorks. They each have different properties. Widgets, scripts, and Java, they just work, right? They just run. Nothing to do. Cocoa apps, a few minor tweaks and a recompile, and they just work. Carbon with Xcode, more tweaks and a recompile, and they're going to work. And in MetroWorks, the first thing you have to do is move to Xcode. So, let's take a look at this again. Widgets, scripts, and Java just work. Cocoa apps, literally a few days, and your Cocoa app's going to be running with an Intel version. Carbon apps, it's going to be a few weeks, a few more tweaks, although there are exceptions to that. We may be overstating it here, which we'll see in a minute. And in MetroWorks, again, we don't know. You've got to get to Xcode. So the key here is getting to Xcode. Now, we started evangelizing Xcode 18 months ago. How is everyone doing on Xcode? They're doing well. Our top 100 developers, over half are using Xcode today. Over half of our top 100 developers, and another 25% of them are in the process of switching to Xcode. So over 80% of our top 100 developers are using or in the process of using Xcode, and less than 20% haven't got on board yet. Now's a good time to get on board. So Xcode is the key, and we've got a new Xcode today to give you, Xcode 2.1, that's got some fun new features in it. As you know, Xcode's a very robust development environment. But the most important new feature, the giant new feature, is when you go to build your app, you get this little sheet that pops down. I'll blow it up for you here. What do you want to build for? PowerPC and Intel. And you check this box, OK, and you're going to build what's called a universal binary. That's a binary that's going to contain all the bits that run on both architectures. And so the loader for each one loads the right set of bits and goes. One binary works on both PowerPC and Intel architecture. So you can ship one CD that supports both processors. And again, we're going to be supporting both these processors for a long time because we've got a very large installed base on the PowerPC that you're going to want to sell your software to, and there's going to be a growing installed base on Intel that you're going to want to sell your software to. So we want to support both of these processors into the future, and universal binaries are the way to do it. So get on Xcode 2.1 and get your copy today. There'll be a copy for everybody at the registration desk immediately following this keynote. So let's go back, making an Intel version. Now, again, this is nothing like carbonization. This is a lot easier. And I want to focus on one app right here, a Carbon app written in Xcode. This is a developer I've known for a long time. I gave him a call Wednesday night, this last Wednesday night. And I said, we got something really secret we're working on, and I can't tell you what it is. But I want you to put all your source code on a hard disk and fly out here, and let's see what we can do. And it was nip and tuck there for a few minutes, but they trusted us enough to do that. And that company was Wolfram Research, and that app was not a small app. That app was Mathematica. And it is my pleasure right now to introduce Theo Gray, the co-founder of Wolfram Research, to tell us what happened in the last 5 days. Theo, welcome.
I get the most ridiculous phone calls from Apple sometimes. I mean, this was like 9 o'clock at night, and he's calling. He said, "Oh, I have this great thing, and it's great, and could you port Mathematica? And, you know, I can't tell you what it is, but could you come out and show people on Monday?" So, I mean, you have to understand. So Mathematica has inside it probably the world's largest collection of algorithms. It supports all kinds of programming styles, data formats of all sorts. It's built with, you know, millions of lines of C code. We've got Java code. We've got, you know, the most modern C++ template, stuffy widget things, and, you know, we've got We've got ancient code that hasn't been changed since like the Reagan administration, some of which I might have written. This is not a little toy app. This is a beast. Lot to port. But, not to worry, because he said, well, there's this little checkbox, and you click the little checkbox, and you'll be fine, it'll be great. So I said, oh, okay. I'll send out, our crack team of emergency Macintosh developers that we keep on standby. That would be Rob. We'll see what he can do. So we put him on a plane. He gets there Thursday afternoon. Of course, I can't actually tell him why he's going, but he showed up, and they showed him the checkbox, and he clicked the little checkbox, and 2 hours later, he had a copy of Mathematica running on Intel. 2 hours. So. For those of you that have been through a Carbon port, OS 10 kind of port, this is nothing like that. I mean, we're talking about 20 lines of source code out of millions from a dead cold start where he doesn't even know why he's showing up at Apple in 2 hours to have a working version. Let's take a look. I should say in fairness that there is an awful lot of software engineering built into Mathematica to make this kind of thing possible. There's Rob, there's help from Apple. Your mileage may vary. But from where I stand, it's pretty good when your biggest problem with a port is figuring out what to do with the rest of the weekend. So let's take a look here. Now, of course, the most amazing thing is just that it comes up, at launch. Now, Mathematica and the Macintosh are used by people at the forefront of their fields. People who want to push the limits and do things that haven't been done before, like that, for example. If you scroll back. Those 2 lines there, you haven't seen that before. And in the spirit of pushing the limits, we thought that rather than do something boring, like port a working version that we knew was stable, we thought we'd go ahead and port the current internal development version of Mathematica, which is full of all kinds of exciting new technologies that actually I can't show you. But I can show you a couple of the interactive things we've been working on. So, that's nice, now we know OpenGL works. But let me show you something that you probably haven't seen. Now, in the past, you would do typically sort of one calculation. You do one algebraic manipulation at a time, or expansion here. So what we're doing here instead is we're exploring a computational space. We have a tool where we can manipulate and navigate through a world of computation. This is a quick little example. It's simple, it's kind of fun, but it's actually based on a lot of very deep technology that we've been working on for many years to make that possible. We like to do sort of deep technology at Wolfram Research. We also like to do interesting science, hence the research. So this next example, this is something based on Stephen Wolfram's new kind of science notion of exploring a universe of possible simple programs. And as you can see, this is a very simple program. That source code up there, that's the entire source code in the Mathematica symbolic language to implement that example, as well as specify the user interface that we would like to have to explore this particular computational universe. This happens to be sort of an experimental architecture kind of idea, something you might see built in Las Vegas maybe. But it could just as well be looking at candidate nanotech structures, something like that. So we expect to be seeing a lot of sort of technological applications coming out of the use of Mathematica to explore interesting computational spaces. Okay, thanks for the demo, Rob. I'd like to... So I'd like to thank Steve for inviting us down to once again sort of push the limits together with Apple. We certainly hope that we will have a universal binary shipping once there's machines out there to ship it to. And I'd particularly like to thank the Apple engineering team for freeing up my weekend. Thank you very much.
So, thank you, Teo. The key message here is to get to Xcode. Get to Xcode 2.1 and create a universal binary. And this is what's going to let us bring all of our apps over And I think you're going to find that the tools are really, really good to do this. I think you're going to be very pleasantly surprised. But even with all of this effort, not every application is going to be universal on day one. So what are we going to do? We've got an awesome technology called Rosetta that we're going to be shipping with these new machines. And Rosetta allows us to translate PowerPC to Intel. It lets us run existing PowerPC binaries on Intel. So existing apps run. It is a dynamic binary translator. It runs existing PowerPC apps. It is transparent to users. It's nothing like classic where you're loading a whole operating system. This is totally transparent. You just click on a PowerPC binary, it starts translating. And that's it. Users don't even know. It's lightweight, no big memory footprint, and it's pretty fast. So most users will not even know that they're running it, which is fantastic. So I'd like to just show this to you right now if I could. Let me just go over here, and I've got some apps right here. So I'm just going to open a Word document. And this is a Word document right here. And I can go up and it just thinks it's running on a PowerPC. Boom, 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 whatever it's doing. Let me open another one here. Boom. Very simple. Let me open an Excel spreadsheet. Nope. Let me open Quicken. Boom. Let me open Photoshop. Now you'll notice when Photoshop's opening, it's also loading in all the plugins. All the plugins, again, are translated. So they all work fine. There's Photoshop. Let me open another photo so you can see how fast it... Boom. And again, you can... go through stuff and do whatever you want to do. So that is Rosetta. These PowerPC apps just run. And that's what we're going to have for our users, because every app isn't going to be universal from day one. So, OS X singing on Intel processors. Xcode 2.1 to generate universal binaries. And Rosetta to run PowerPC apps before they're universal. How do you get your hands on all this stuff? We want you to have your hands on all this stuff now so you can help us finish it and so you can get started creating your universal binaries. And we have created a developer transition kit for you. This developer transition kit has got a 3.6 gigahertz Pentium 4 in it inside a Power Mac. OS 10.4.1, our pre-release of the Intel version. Xcode 2.1 to generate universal binaries, a universal binary porting guide that's quite good. It is a development platform only. This is not a product. This will never be shipped as a product. It's just for you guys to get started in development. And actually, you have to return them by the end of 2006 because we don't want them floating around out there. These are not products. But we're going to get them to you now. They're for Select and Premier ADC members only. And we're going to price it at $9.99. And you can order them today. We'll be shipping them within 2 weeks, so you don't have to carry them home. And we'll get them out to you real fast. So that's the development environment, and you should be able to take all this and create universal versions of your apps. Now, most of you are hearing about this for the first time today, unless you read the Wall Street Journal, I guess. But we have talked to a few developers this past week. You heard from Teo at Wolfram Research. And I'd like to invite another one up on stage that we've briefed on this. And of course, that's Microsoft, because Microsoft Office is very important to us all. We have a great relationship with Microsoft. And I'd like to invite Roz Ho the General Manager of the Macintosh Business Unit at Microsoft, up on stage right now. Let's give her a warm welcome.
Hi, Steve. Thank you, Steve. It's getting to be quite a habit to be here. It's my pleasure to be here on stage today and to be involved in the exciting changes from Apple. These are exciting times for Mac customers. You're going to have more choices than ever before, and we're really excited to be part of the opportunities that lie ahead. As you know, because I've said this before many times, Microsoft has been making software for the Mac platform for more than 20 years. The dedication and support of this platform is really the essence of the products that we make at the Macintosh Business Unit. The Macintosh Business Unit at Microsoft is focused on creating products that our customers want and need. Our products continually include Mac first and Mac only features and enable seamless cross-platform compatibility that directly benefit our customers. The launch of Office 2004 was the best launch of any product in MacBook's history, but we're not stopping there. We're putting the final touches on updates for Exchange users to add new Tiger functionality, and we're releasing a new version of Messenger for Mac in the next few months. We're dedicated to continuous improvement of the software experience for our millions of customers all over the world. That's why I'm pleased to tell you today that our team has been working closely with Apple engineers on Xcode so we can make the transition. We plan to create universal binaries for future versions of Office so that it can run natively on Apple's new and old hardware. The MacBook and Apple has a strong relationship, and we look forward to continue working together on our long tradition of building great applications for a great platform. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Roz. One of our other partners, as you know, is Adobe. They're close by us, and we work very closely with them. And we've been working with Adobe for over 20 years as well. And it's my pleasure to invite up Bruce Chisholm, the CEO of Adobe. Hey, Bruce.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
For over 20 years now, Adobe has been partnering with Apple. In fact, there would not be an Adobe if it wasn't for Apple. To the point we're partnering, my mom thinks I'm actually CEO of Apple, not Adobe. I have to remind her that's Steve Jobs' job. Our customers, our joint customers, are looking for performance. Customers using the Creative Suite, applications like Illustrator, Photoshop, InDesign, Acrobat. They want performance, and they want performance on an operating system that they truly appreciate, which is OS X. You can be absolutely sure that Adobe is committed to taking our applications so that they can run natively on Intel's architecture on Apple's new boxes. I stood up here I think it was about 4 years ago when Steve launched OS X, and I said Adobe would be first with a complete line of applications, and we were first with a complete line of applications, and we'll do the same with this major transition. This is great news, Steve. The only question I have is, what took you so long?
Thank you. Thank you, Bruce. And now, you know, we've obviously been working with Intel these last several months, evaluating what we were going to do leading up to this decision. And we've kind of gotten deeper in discussions with them than ever before. And we found something pretty amazing, which is they're kind of like us. They're passionate about their products. They're an engineering-driven culture that is passionate about their products. And we didn't always view them that way. But that's what we found. And our engineers have gotten along famously with their engineers. And we've had extremely productive working relationship as we've come to learn about their roadmaps, what we could do with their technology. It's been great. And it's my pleasure to introduce Paul Otellini, the president and the CEO of Intel. I invited him here because I wanted you to hear directly from him what he thinks about all this. Oh yeah, click.
Well, I suspect there's a whole bunch of you that never thought you'd see that logo on this stage. I was one of them for a while. I'm not anymore, obviously. We are so excited at Intel to have given the opportunity to work with Apple to bring you some really great products. I thought I would try to explain how we got here today, and I would do it in the context of telling you a story. And the story is really about Apple and Intel, and I call it a Silicon Valley story. And it goes back a ways. In fact, it goes back almost 4 decades. Intel was founded in 1968 by Gordon Moore and Bob Noyce. Bob was the co-inventor of the integrated circuit. We started out building memories. First product was an SRAM. We invented the DRAM. And a few years later, we invented the world's first microprocessor, the 4004. And we were in Mountain View. Well, sort of 8 years later, 5 miles away in Cupertino, Apple was founded. And you can see the picture of Steve and Woz there. You can also see on the right-hand side a picture of Steve and Bob Noyce on the right-hand side having dinner. I asked Steve last night as an aside, was that the last time you wore a tie? And he said, no, it's the last time I wore a mustache, though. But what you may not know is that our connection between Intel and Apple started around the same time. Bob and Andy Grove, actually, were early investors in Apple Computer. And in fact, Ann Bowers was Bob Noyce's wife, and she was Apple's first VP of HR. So there were some early signs of genetic connection. It didn't quite work out the way we had hoped. And in fact, Apple started in 1976 with a chip from MOS Technology. Well, our microprocessor business in the PCs came quite after that. In 1981, IBM chose the 8088 to go in their first PC. And things went along for quite some time. And as Steve has pointed out, in 1993, 2 events happened. Well, Apple switched from the 68K to the PowerPC, and Intel launched the Pentium processor and started ramping it in earnest. And for the next couple of years, competition really heated up quite a bit. It got pretty intense. It got so intense that in 1996, Apple they set fire to our bunny person. And I know some of you may not be as old as this commercial, but I thought I'd let it run for you. Now, we didn't have a grudge about that. We just thought it was a not so subtle message that Apple thought our processors were too hot and they wanted us to run a lot cooler. Well, by the time it got to 2005, in fact, the processors are running a lot cooler, and we are so happy that the world's most innovative computer company and the world's most innovative chip company have finally teamed up. I thought I would give you my perspective on the partnership. I think that this brings together the skills and the opportunities and the engineering excellence of two great companies. And they combine our strengths and they play on our respective strengths. Apple has a legendary capability in hardware and software engineering and design and in innovation. You all know that. What you may not be familiar with is us. Our strengths are a little bit different, but they're entirely complementary. We are all about computer architectures. We're about scale and scope and being able to deliver in high volume the world's best technology, the world's best processors. And what we are most about is the relentless advancement of Moore's Law to give you better and better machines year after year. And so after almost 30 years, Apple and Intel are together at last. And I don't think of this as a fairy tale with a happy ending. I think of this much more as an exciting and important story with a very, very happy beginning. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul. That's great. Woo. So where does that leave us? Well, Apple is strong. Apple's pretty strong right now. And the Mac is strong. We saw this. So this is great. This is a great time to start building for the future, to make us even stronger. We know transitions. We've been through 2 of them. And they've kept our platform at the forefront. And we're going to continue to be bold and begin a 3rd transition today as far as the developers are concerned, to make the best machines we know how to make in the future. This transition isn't going to happen overnight. Again, we're making awesome machines right now. We got a lot of great PowerPC products in the pipeline, but we are also working to design some Intel-based Macs, and when we're here next year, we plan to have them in the marketplace. And there will be a transition over the next 2 years. We're getting ready. We've done a lot of work, as you've seen today. OS X is running fantastic on Intel processors. Xcode 2.1 in your hands today. Rosetta for our customers, for those apps that are not universal on day one. We've already made a big investment in this, and we're fairly far along. It's time for you to get ready too now. And what do you have to do to get ready? One thing. Create universal binaries of your apps. We've got a lot of stuff going on at the conference to help you today. Over 90 of the 95 presentations that we've got here today include content about universal versions. 100 developer systems in 7 labs, and the labs are open every night till at least 9 o'clock. I think tomorrow night they're open till midnight. So go see if you can beat Teo and his team on Mathematica. 500 Apple engineers on site. So if you brought your source code, go for it. And when we meet again here next year, we will have Macs with Intel processors entering the market. I suspect a lot of you will be shipping universal binaries. And we will be very excited to keep pushing the frontiers and tell you about Leopard when we meet again here next year. Because more than even the processor, more than even the hardware innovations that we bring to the market, the soul of a Mac is its operating system, and we're not standing still. So I'll see you all here next year, and I look forward to a lot